This is Tatooine Sun.
What was it like for you guys as far as the fan buildup between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi? I mean, that was a big pivotal moment for us in Star Wars fandom.
Yes.
Yeah. In a lot of ways. What was it like? Can you recall back? I mean, we're dealing with 8.5 years ago, but can you look back and remember what that was like for you as fans of Star Wars?
Trying to think back myself.
You're 12,
right?
11 and 12, yeah. 10, 11, 12, really. So
yeah.
What about you, Sam? Do you remember any of that? What was it like for you?
I mean, I don't remember too many specifics. I do just remember all the theorizing and speculation and stuff going into it with all the trailers. I remember sitting in the community pool
in the hot tub at our townhouse in California.
After the trailer dropped.
The second
trailer dropped. And we're sitting there just theorizing about what could this mean? What could that mean? And all that. That was the buildup was there just because of all the speculation.
Well, there was more buildup from that than just the speculation, though, because we had gone to Star Wars Celebration in April. We had been there not in the room. That was one of the disappointing things. We didn't actually get into the main panel room. We were in one of the overflow rooms, which is great. But there were still about 4,000 or 5,000 people in that room with it. And we got to see the Last Jedi trailer drop, the first one, the teaser. And then we watched it again. And we're dealing with we knew the name. It was Last Jedi because they had announced that in January. And we were even wearing our Last Jedi t-shirts are up on the walls behind you guys right there. It's funny. The Jeremy Bullock one was that day. I guess it's both that day.
Both of them were that day.
They were both that day.
One heck of a day in
Star Wars. We were there,
yes.
And that was the second day of celebration. I remember that with it. And we're getting to the we're finally getting some Luke and we're getting all this stuff in the trailer. And then you see, or you hear more than anything, you hear Luke Skywalker say, "Oh, there's only one thing I know for sure. It's time for the Jedi to end."
Mm-hmm.
And the screen goes with the logo, and everybody's just sitting there, and they're clapping, but they're not clapping.
Right.
They're kind of like, "What?
What do we mean here?"
Which is really foreshadowing, of the movies. With it. And then we all watched it again and speculated and had a bunch of fun. So that was part of it. We came back from there. Actually, I went to California because that's where I was living at the time while you guys were living in Colorado. You hadn't moved to California because of my job. And then we decided to start
the podcast,
Tatooine Sons.
Yeah.
Which was actually not a podcast, was it?
No.
It was
sadly.
I thought we vowed never to talk about that again.
It was a YouTube channel.
We don't have any
archive.
We have no archive.
No, I've deleted them all.
Thank goodness.
Gone.
With that. We tried so hard to have the most highly produced, and we still try to do that.
It was
and we're
bad.
I mean, if you had any idea what the setup is right now in this room and what we got out, different things holding up cameras right now.
I think you can see most of it.
Well, some of it, but there's one over there right now that people would be like, really? That's what you're trying to do for a camera? But anyway, with it, I mean, we did that YouTube channel. And that was so funny. I look back on that and I'm remember researching episodes to try to come up with stuff to talk about on the show, on each episode, and finding Mike Zero and watching Mike Zero and thinking he was freaking legit.
I'm sorry.
How naive.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember Mike
and
Zero.
So he would talk about some crazy theory that he made up. We didn't know at the time, but he was just making up crap about Star Wars and coming up with all these sources and making up this stuff. And we would talk about it on our show like it was legitimate because it's just,
we didn't know.
Say it with enough confidence, you got enough subscribers and views on stuff before, you kind of assume that somebody's legit.
Right. Oh,
Sounds like something else. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, anyway. So that's the situation with that. And then when that trailer came out,
we had moved there by that point.
You had moved there by then. We hadn't started this podcast yet. We had stopped the YouTube channel. We were getting ready to start the podcast. We were
How long did that YouTube channel last?
It was
maybe a few weeks.
No. I was a couple of months. We did a couple of months of it.
The 4 hours of setup and tear down.
Oh my God.
It was just a mess. Anyway, with that. But then I remember that trailer that dropped during Monday Night Football. And we knew it was coming. They had announced
got
it.
Sam to watch football.
Yeah,
willingly.
exactly. And so we watched that trailer, and then we were like, Mom was like, "Get out of here, go."
Yeah,
she literally. So we threw on our swimsuits and went to the hot tub in the community center and sat there and talked about it like you were talking about. The hype was real.
It was really fun.
Now that we've kind of gotten
now that I remember more about it, I remember the panic of hoping Movie Pass would work.
Oh my goodness,
that was stressful. Going up the months leading up, we had Movie Pass for a little while, but you can't
before it went bankrupt.
Right.
Yeah, we were part of that group.
We were part of the original. Like we got it the month it started, and
we used it.
Well, that's why we saw The Last Jedi 10 times in the first month.
Well, the theater was like what 10 minutes.
Well, they had opened that new one.
Yeah, the Reading Cinemas, which was great.
Which was a brand new theater, recliner seats and all that. And so
good.
But you had to go the day of to a kiosk and buy your tickets at the theater.
So we didn't have tickets going into the opening night of Last Jedi.
No, we did. We bought tickets. You guys went to the other theater. We went to the one by the outdoor mall in Temecula.
I remember that.
And you guys went when they went on sale.
But we weren't able to. We used
you guys got them, and then we waited in line because it wasn't reserved seating. That's when we waited in line, and we did the episode 3 of our podcast, which was a live or a recorded version that we did in line, interviewing people and doing. We did a contest. We gave away some stuff with a trivia contest, and that was where we did our first predictions sure to go wrong.
Yeah.
And Nathan, you picked that the Jedi, that Porgs were actually Force-sensitive Jedi.
Yeah.
That he was, and that the Porgs were going to come and save the day. And you had
they kind of did.
idea
how big
Porgs were going to end up being.
No clue.
That's crazy.
Just crazy.
That's weird to look back on.
And you were kids.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Geez.
But here's what's interesting, because when you think back on that period of time, it was a really interesting time for like all of this kind of fandom stuff, because that was a period of time when like the YouTube long form content was really starting to take off.
Yeah.
With it, Twitter had really started to become a big deal. And so
Sadly.
it is what it is, right? And all of those things started to like gain momentum. You had all of that sort of an ecosystem being built out. And at the same time, coming out of The Force Awakens, you have J.J. Abrams. And what J.J. Abrams is known for, he's talked about it. He calls it his mystery boxes. And so when he writes a story like The Force Awakens, he intentionally likes to, when he does a new story or something like that, like he did with The Force Awakens, like he did with some of his TV series and stuff like that, he has this thing he likes to put out his mystery boxes, where he throws out something and doesn't give any explanation for it.
Super 8, that's very much the case in Super 8.
Exactly.
Sure.
And so JJ does that so much in The Force Awakens that you have that ecosystem we just talked about with YouTube and social media and the message boards and Reddit and all of this stuff going on. And at the same time, you've got JJ not giving us really anything but just throwing out Snoke, throwing out the Knights of Ren, having Maz give the lightsaber to Rey, and her having those forcebacks or whatever they call them at the time. You know, all of those things are happening in this movie without any explanation.
Right.
And so that became the perfect storm of scenarios to create what became this unbelievable 2-year period of fan theories.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it was rough.
I think that 2-year period was the most that like fans have ever speculated on Star Wars, like ever. I think I think it was more between.
After The Last Jedi, it was arguing, and it was it wasn't a lot of speculating going into The Rise of Skywalker.
And since then, I haven't seen a whole lot of like theorizing and speculating and stuff about Star Wars at all. I mean, there's been,
but that 2 years it was bad.
It was. You couldn't go anywhere.
It wasn't just bad, it was fun.
It was fun.
No, it was really a part of it.
Yeah, you were a kid. You weren't really on social media.
Well,
but
media.
When we talked
I
on
was
the
just
podcast,
excited to watch the trailers and then the movie whenever it came up. So,
but every podcast episode we recorded, we probably talked about some new theory at some point.
Well, yeah, when we were doing the YouTube, we only did 2 episodes of the podcast before the Last Jedi premiere evening. We did and we literally launched it December 1st in anticipation for the Last Jedi and being able to talk about it. But we didn't do a ton of theorizing on that, but we did a lot of theorizing and a lot of me watching YouTube videos and all of this. Mike Zero. I had no idea what a fraud that guy was at the time with it. I remember when Rian Johnson called him out.
Really?
And called him a fraud on Twitter.
Dang.
With it, because he was talking about some of the things that he was saying about the backlash with The Last Jedi. And he was saying, sources are telling me that Rian Johnson did this and he was intentionally doing this. And he was told not to by Disney and Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy. And he did it anyway. And Rian Johnson was just like, you are a liar. You are just a flat out liar, is what he really is. Twitter.
And is he even?
I don't know if he's doing
YouTube
anything.
anymore?
Yeah. I remember he got basically kicked off of Twitter with it one time. But anyway, we're going to talk about some of those theories and we're going to revisit them with it, because I think it's fun as you think about The Last Jedi. I think that the reason I want to talk about the theories is those theories led to the reaction.
Yeah.
To The Last Jedi. 2 years of headcanon, doubling down on headcanon, examining every frame of certain segments within, especially the Force back sequence.
Yeah.
Examining every musical motif, every voice, in this. All of those things became so much a part of what The Last Jedi is, that when The Last Jedi didn't follow through on the prevailing theories in a lot of ways, and in some ways did follow through on some theories, the reaction was so polarized.
Right.
Because the fandom had become polarized in the theorizing. Does that make sense? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, people had taken a side.
We'll talk about it in a minute. We're going to talk about, let's start with it. Let's talk about Rey, right? Because you've got Rey's her lineage. You've got and I'm looking at my notes over here, so if I'm looking over you at the camera, the notes are on the screen there behind you. So the number one theory was really Rey Skywalker, not the Rey Skywalker we get in The Rise of Skywalker, but it was Rey as a Skywalker. That was the theory that dominated that period of time, that she was a descendant, like a daughter probably, of Luke. With that. When you think back on, the idea was something had happened in Luke's past. Maybe there was a Mara Jade connection, which is
I think that was kind of what people
were back in that same theorizing right now. Currently, right now, that theory is taking off with Starfighter because Amy Adams has red hair and she's forced, and she's got a lightsaber, and the rumor is she's going to die at the beginning of the movie and give the lightsaber to the kid, and the kid's going to go off, and we're going to find out that she was Mara Jade and that's Luke's son. It's funny how it's poetry.
It just keeps coming.
It just keeps rhyming with it. But the idea was that when she doesn't know Luke, that her father, who leaves her on Ahch-To. So we get that vision. Right. And we see Rey as a child being holding the hand of Unkar Plutt, and the transport going away, and she's screaming, "Don't go." And the theory became that Luke was dropping her off on Jakku to hide her from Snoke or somebody, something that was out to get her. And that he was the one coming back to her. So that's why she's in where she lives, marking off the days. She's got to get back to Jakku because her father, she doesn't know her father is Luke.
Right.
In the theory. She just knows her father left her, and her father is going to come back and get her. And she's got to get back to Jakku for that. With it. And the theory then goes on to suggest that her father told her stories, legends of this man called Luke Skywalker.
Right.
And that's why when Han says, I knew Luke, and she's like, I thought he was a myth.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, when Finn says he has a map to Luke Skywalker,
and she says,
I thought he was a myth. She doesn't know. So she doesn't know. There's no image ever given to her throughout The Force Awakens of who Luke Skywalker is. She's just hearing stories about Luke Skywalker. So then she goes to Ahch-To. She comes up the steps and sees him with his back, and he turns around and they see each other.
And she thinks it's
and she knows she's coming for Luke Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
And he turns around, and it's her father, and that's the way they ended it.
Theory.
That was the theory. Tell me what your thoughts are as far as a theory goes. Can you go back in time before the Last Jedi and see how that theory would resonate?
Oh yeah, I could totally see the connection. I mean, when you lay out the argument like that, it makes sense because you don't ever see him, or she never sees a picture of him. It does bring up the question of who's the mom. Pretty heavily.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where's the mom? All that. But when you're of the mindset that everyone was going into The Last Jedi, is that she has to be from something significant.
Yes.
Well, you're going to think it's going to be Luke or like the Skywalkers. I mean, it would make sense too because we're in the Skywalker saga, so it would make sense that a Skywalker would be the protagonist of
this
the trilogy.
Yeah, it was Anakin in the first, Luke in this, and Rey Skywalker in the third.
Right. So I can see it.
What are your thoughts on that as a theory?
Yeah, I can definitely see where it would be coming from, especially with how she had some type of reaction when she picked up Luke's
when she picked up the Skywalker. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and everybody was like, oh, then why did that happen?
And the saber calling out to her. Right. It only makes sense. If you're sitting there back in that period,
it makes what makes the most sense for sure. But it's definitely and that's where I feel like after Last Jedi came out, that's where some of the fans were like, well, he was specifically trying to make it.
It was subverting. It was
subverting the expectations and subverting what only made sense, which wasn't the case. But I think that while those breadcrumbs were set up, it obviously was never meant to go that way. It was meant to be, and I think how Rian took it with the nobody aspect of it, and then that was changed for Rise of Skywalker, felt more like how Star Wars should have handled that. But I can definitely see where people were coming from with that Luke Skywalker. I don't even know what I believed. I remember what I was.
I was convinced she was a Kenobi.
Yeah, and that's the next theory. We'll talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, okay. I was.
So tell me why you were convinced she was. A Kenobi.
It just British accent.
That largely. I mean, yeah, but we don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure the timeline would work, but like with Kenobi and Duchess Satine.
Well, she couldn't be the daughter at that. Duchess Satine died 20 years before A New Hope, and now we're 30 or 25 years after A New Hope.
She wasn't 20 years before.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No.
Clone Wars.
That's right.
So so one theory was that she was a granddaughter.
Yeah, that's probably where I was thinking at the time. That's right. I got my
your timelines. I get it.
I just felt like it made the most sense. I felt like it still kind of subverted expectations enough, but if she had to be from something significant, that made the most sense. Plus, it would be interesting to know that the Kenobi bloodline kept living on and was reconnecting with the Skywalker bloodline and everything. As cool as the Skywalker theory would have been, I felt like the Kenobi storyline would have led to some more interesting repercussions.
It would have been very interesting, yeah.
Later down the line. So that was the camp I was in at the time.
What are your thoughts on the idea of Rey Kenobi?
I don't believe that there's much weight to it, honestly, other than the accent. It's like,
oh no, there's a whole segment in the Force Pack
that where Kenobi talks.
Well, and he's like,
but they take a word from Sir Alec Guinness. They literally took. Now there's different theories, but Rian, I heard on the director's commentary, he this is what he said they did with it, or JJ I think is what he is on the director's commentary for The Force Awakens. They get a recording of Sir Alec Guinness saying "great," and they were able to pull off the G and the T to turn Rey, right? And then they brought in Ewan
Yeah, and he says these are the first steps.
These are your first steps.
And that's the last words she hears in the flashback.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it.
But why is she hearing?
But there's no more evidence for Skywalker than it is for that. There's theories, right? There's things that you can shoehorn in to make sense, but you can do the same thing for Kenobi.
Makes more sense logically than Kenobi does.
When
you line it all out, it feels like the pieces fit more.
Especially when you try to think that this is the Skywalker saga.
Right.
But like I said a second ago, I was thinking if you were going to subvert expectations yet still have some connection, Kenobi made the most sense to me.
Yeah, it was a fun thing to toss around, but I truly don't remember if I was in that camp or not. I don't even remember if I was in any camp.
You're not much.
You
of a
were
theory
just like,
guy.
I'm happy to see a movie.
Yeah,
but that's usually who you are with everything. I mean, we saw Disclosure Day yesterday, and it was the same thing.
I got to see a Steven Spielberg movie. I was happy. I was like, it was a fun Steven Spielberg adventure. I'm so happy. That was my exact reaction walking out of the movie. I was like, yeah, that was good.
I like the idea of Rey Kenobi.
I do too.
I think that was probably my favorite one. I think I wasn't sold on it at all. I remember being probably more coming into the movie. If I can put myself back in that theater the first time and the movie starts, I think I'm expecting Rey Skywalker.
Let's be honest here, though. You had a much different experience going into The Last Jedi than you did
than either of the other two.
Because with The Force Awakens, you were completely spoiled.
I had read
months before.
I am at Breckenridge in Colorado reading the script, basically. The whole thing had gotten
Why did you do that to yourself?
I was bored and it was interesting, and I never once believed that what I was seeing could actually be true.
Especially when Han Solo was killed at the end.
When Han Solo died, I'm laughing. I remember sitting there going, yeah, well, that's not happening in this movie. And then we get into the movie, we get into The Force Awakens, and it starts happening beat for beat for beat for beat. And then this existential dread starts to come over me because I'm like, oh no, they're getting ready to kill my dude with it. So I'm like dreading it the whole time. And you're right, I had a very different experience.
Because in The Last Jedi, you knew nothing, but you went with a crap ton of theories.
It was all theories, no spoilers going into The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm. No, you went into The Force Awakens with no theories and
all spoilers. All spoilers with it. And I think if sitting in that theater when it starts and the curtain drops, or they're not really, but the Lucasfilm logo comes on the screen, I'm convinced it's going to be Rey Skywalker, and I'm hoping it's Rey Kenobi. I think that's the one, if I recall correctly on that. And there was others too. I mean, there was there was the idea that she could be a Solo. Yeah. And she could be a younger sister or a twin of Ben Solo that got separated. But that one never seems to hold up because of Han and Leia interacting.
Yeah, they would have recognized her probably, or I would hope they would recognize their daughter.
Or why would they leave her? Like, there's a lot of questions.
Well, and one of the parts of the theory was that she was taken as a child, kind of like what they ended up doing with Finn. Finn had been conscripted as a child. All of that, that she had been stolen from them as a child, that they had given up, and that's why they broke up. That because it heartbroke. It was just they were just never recovered from losing their daughter. With it. And so when you go back and you watch The Force Awakens and she's got the ability to pilot like Han, she's interacting, and Han's kind of like, I'm looking for a co-pilot. There's almost there at Takodana when they first land.
Right.
That moment when you're watching The Force Awakens, there's this element of
something
you can almost see in Han like he's trying to figure something out.
Yeah. And
then you get to the end after Han's killed and they return to Dakar, right? And they destroy Starkiller Base and all of that. There was a big part of the theory had to do with the fact that when they come off of the Millennium Falcon and Han's just been killed.
Right.
Leia's standing there. Chewie walks right past, and Leia doesn't interact with Chewie at all. after Han's death.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and if you watch the director's commentary, JJ said that is his biggest mistake in the entire Force Awakens. He said that shot was, I look back and it is my biggest regret in the entire movie, was that I let him be on screen walking past Leia. But she's coming at Rey and she embraces Rey. And so there's this like, well, what is that all about? People literally sat for 2 years and said, why did Leia not say something to Chewie, but go to, the only explanation could be that she figured it out. That's the daughter that's been missing, and that's what we're going to find out.
The mass psychosis during this time was terrible.
Do you see how that goes, though?
Oh, I definitely see the theory. Yeah. I never noticed that in the movie, though, and now every time I watch it, I'm going to be...
Oh, I watched it. We watched it a couple weeks ago. I was just like, oh, yeah, that's right there. It's front and center. I think the one that is so curious is that I remember seeing YouTube videos
from Mike Zero.
No, not from Mike, from people that are legit, right? Speculating that she was a Palpatine.
Really?
And the theories were, can't be a direct, almost certainly can't be a direct descendant like Palpatine survived. There's no way Palpatine survived, right? Is what it was the idea. So somehow Palpatine returned with that. But he must have had a child that we didn't know about with it, and she's his granddaughter. That was one big theory with it. There was a lot of theory about cloning,
like she was,
and
just
that she was a clone, a female version of a clone, or that there was some. I mean, it is Beaumont from The Rise of Skywalker, Dominic Monaghan's character.
Oh, yeah.
Right, who basically is like, dark magic, cloning, all of that.
The hand waving they do to move past the somehow Palpatine returned thing,
right? But it's so much better described in the written in the book, by the way, just so you know, with that. But anyway, they show, and so I remember seeing a video. I remember being in California, watching this video before you guys moved out there, where they're going through all of her lightsaber moves.
Oh, she was big on like thrusting,
and she does, and they're like showing they're cutting between Palpatine against Mace and Kit Fisto and the other one.
So now we're like inherited lightsaber moves.
They're literally they're like, no, it wasn't inherited. It was more of like, this is how they're planting this to go back later for you to say, okay, I can see why how they were doing that, right? But then you've got the same thing with going back to the Kenobi theory, right? I mean, the first time she ever uses the Force, what does she do?
Mind trick.
The Jedi mind trick. That's the first time we ever see Kenobi use the Force in the original trilogy. He does the exact same
because the Force was never used to move stuff.
It was, and so I mean, you got all this. You got, and then with the Solo lineage one, it was I remember being in the Orlando airport waiting for you guys to arrive, and then waiting to find you because you guys we got separated or lost, and watching the scene where he interrogates her in The Force Awakens when Ben or Kylo interrogates.
Oh, he's the father you.
Right, and all of that stuff that's going. Yeah, he's the father that that kind of thing.
He would have disappointed.
And remembering when he finds out that the droid got away with a girl.
Oh,
and he goes, "What girl?"
Right, he has a very strong reaction.
He reacts, and you're like, "Well, what? Wait, why is he saying that? And he must know about some girl." And he's thinking, and do you see how you can do this?
So J.J. Abrams was just like, I want to see.
But this is why it's important to have these kinds of conversations, because it is so easy to hear those theories now, looking back and go, I get that theory.
Oh, yeah.
I get how somebody could convince themselves that she was a Solo and watch The Force Awakens 947 times over 2 years and break things down frame for frame and convince themselves that they're seeing.
It's confirmation bias.
Yes.
You see what you want to see.
That Grace, Ethan Hunt's daughter.
No, that one's accurate. You shut your mouth. Okay.
Hey, I was one that came up with the idea.
But that's fine. And then one theory was that she was a nobody.
Sure. I mean,
and the one I wish they
and that they were literally going to reveal that she has, and that the purpose behind it was so that there would be a newer understanding of the way the Force. They had to move away from lineage. They had to move away from it being a Skywalker, a Palpatine, a Kenobi, a Solo, in order for the story to move forward. And that is what Rian brings to The Last Jedi. With that. So I think that's really curious. We could keep talking about these theories. I mean, we already have. I found 15 theories and I cut it down for it. Snoke. I mean, that was probably the ultimate.
Snoke theory sucks.
The Snoke theories.
I had a sticker of that somewhere.
You got it from Steel.
Yeah.
Steel Saunders,
right? Was it coming in Village?
No, we went to the meetup in San Diego.
Yeah.
He invited us to the Star Wars content creators meetup at San Diego Comic-Con. And that's where you guys were first introduced to Matt Martin. With that.
That was a weird day.
And that's what that was one of the most important days in the history of Turbis.
Yeah.
Matt Martin is the reason.
Yes.
For those of you that don't know, Matt Martin
is a legend.
Was part of Story Group. I think he still is. With it, he left Twitter like everybody that was cool because of The Last Jedi. And the way
don't blame him.
Treated. With that, but he, I remember I bullied you two into going over to talk to him.
You really did,
and you guys didn't really bring up Turbis. And so I came over after and I introduced myself while you guys were finishing up talking to him. And I'm like, I told him about the Turbis stuff. And he's like, oh, yeah. He says, I'm a little familiar with
I remember hearing that.
The Rian Johnson thing. I said, do you think it could ever happen? And he goes, well, if it was a way to make it work within a story, I could see it happening someday, which was a really political answer.
It was very calculated.
And he made it happen.
He did. He pushed for it.
So anyway, Steel Saunders, awesome. That meetup. Your Snoke theory sucks. Remember the first time we ever saw one of those stickers? Do you guys know what it is? I recorded it on a DVR. The cast the week before The Last Jedi came out was on Jimmy Kimmel. And Steel was in the audience. And they were taking questions from the audience, and he was there in the audience, and he held up the Steel your Snoke theory sucks sticker, and he asked a question about Snoke, and they wouldn't answer it. With it,
that's funny.
That's interesting.
It's cool, but yeah. So, what was your favorite Snoke theory?
I don't remember.
I don't remember which one I stuck with. I don't think I really had a favorite. I mean. What even was the most prevalent one at the time? Was it Darth Plagueis?
It was Darth Plagueis. And that was the one that probably dominated the conversation more than anything. The reason that the theory behind the Darth Plagueis Snoke theory was it creates a bigger bad guy for the sequel trilogy than the Emperor.
Yeah.
Because we and it bookends. True. Oh, yeah. It bookends the saga.
Loves a good bookend.
Yeah, right, exactly. So you've got in the first one, you've got that key moment where Anakin is being told about the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise and all of that, and you learn about that, and that's such an important element that leads to his downfall. Mm-hmm. And then if you bring in that Darth Plagueis actually wasn't killed, he thought that Palpatine Sidious thought he killed him, but he, using dark secrets, cloning, whatever, survived. Using his ability to cheat death, and he's actually been pulling the strings behind the scenes this whole time.
Right.
With that,
it is actually.
Then now you've got Plagueis at the end, right? And now Plagueis has taken as his apprentice the grandson of Sidious's apprentice. I mean, there's some cool stuff.
Yeah,
that was like what are your thoughts on that idea as Plagueis? Would you have liked that? I mean, the Snoke is the one piece of the sequel that we really don't have anything from.
It's such an awesome concept, and the Plagueis book isn't canon technically, right?
Canon.
So they could really play with it however they wanted. The only thing we know about Plagueis is the story.
We have him now in canon.
From where?
The Acolyte.
Well, was that confirmed?
Yes, it was confirmed.
Jesus, right.
Like at the very, very end.
And I will, and here's the deal.
I want to see that.
And I will say this, and I know that you guys have only watched The Acolyte that one time, and we were doing it in the one episode a week type thing.
Theory thing. And it was just,
I rewatching that series on a binge makes that a pretty good series. The story is pretty good with that. And the Plagueis thing really disappoints me that we don't have more of that.
Because I remember, like, that was really awesome. That was so cool to see. And it would have been awesome to get Snoke to be Plagueis, or in some way related, because that feels so grand and epic for the whole story to be building back to him being back, which would be crazy. Wasn't there a theory that it was Anakin at one point?
There was a theory that Darth Vader had survived, or that was resurrected.
But
then how does, and then it makes everything like that would have been the thing that fully breaks Star Wars fandom, I think. Because if they don't like the fact that Luke feels like he turned his back on what happened in Return of the Jedi and isn't the same character, you have Luke didn't redeem Anakin, and Anakin's still a bad guy, and now pulling this. I don't think that I don't think fandom could have
survived.
I don't think it could have.
What would your reaction have been?
Oh, I would have been pissed.
Yeah, I mean, rightfully so.
I would have been really pissed.
It undercuts the entire purpose of the original
Star
trilogy.
Wars, of just all of Star Wars.
Yeah, up till that point.
Yeah, I mean, the redemption of Anakin Skywalker is episodes 1 through 6.
I do remember there was people that were like really bought into that.
Yeah, I mean, there was the theory that Mace Windu was Snoke.
That's right.
Here's what the theory is.
I understand he would be disfigured.
A fall.
Yeah.
Okay. He's disfigured, and all of that. And the reason, so the theory is centered around Mace after all of that. No longer believes in the Jedi Order.
Sure.
Because of some of the same things that Luke says, right?
Yeah.
But also is an opponent to the Sith, and that's why Snoke and Kylo Ren are not using Sith titles and don't seem to be Sith.
Yeah.
And you had the whole purple lightsaber thing, which is a mixing of a red lightsaber and a blue lightsaber. So now he's finding a middle path or at least what he thinks he's doing.
Samuel L. Jackson wanted a
literally, there's video of him saying to George, like they're on the set, and he's like, George is like, I saw it today. George is like, red. The good guys have red or have blue and green, and the bad guys have red. And he's like, well, I want a purple.
And they're like, okay.
He's like, okay, whatever.
If Samuel L. Jackson asks for a purple lightsaber, you give him a purple lightsaber.
But so you've got all of that with it. That was a pretty significant.
Yeah, I remember that one. It sucked.
So many bad ones.
There was Nathan, are you ready? Do you remember this one?
No, it wasn't Ezra. Did they really?
There was a theory that Ezra goes, because remember at this point we don't have season 4 yet,
and he had the dark side moments.
Yep.
At the end of season 3, he's going dark.
Isn't that? Yeah, doesn't he like control like a ATST pilot or something to like shoot his friends and then walk off a cliff?
He goes way dark.
It was intense.
So there was literally that theory. I think that I liked the theory that he was DJ better. There was a theory that Ezra was DJ too.
Oh yeah,
and that why DJ was not his name. It was stood for don't join, which it did.
Sure,
because that's what they read in Airbrush on his head, and he had the mark, which Ezra had.
That's right. I remember that.
He did. That's right.
And so that was a theory on that. And then the one that I liked the most, other than I wanted Plagueis.
Plagueis.
I was convinced it was Gallius Rax.
I don't remember.
You guys would have no idea who that is. So Chuck Wendig, after Force Awakens, Chuck Wendig wrote the first 3
of the Aftermath
Force Awakens stories.
Oh,
the Aftermath trilogy, and the main villain in it is this Imperial Grand Admiral, whatever, Gallius Rax, who it goes from the end of Endor to the Battle of Jakku. Is the story. And at the end of the Battle of Jakku, he takes him and Rey Sloane. She's another big in the novels.
Okay.
With that, they go and they escape from Jakku with a secret. There's a secret area that's why the Empire's on Jakku. For the Battle of Jakku, where they have secret technology that takes them to the unknown regions. And so I was convinced it was Gallius Rax.
I can see it.
Rightfully so. That makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know how he had Force abilities or any of that kind of stuff. And he doesn't, didn't look like the same thing, but you just don't know what that story is what you're telling yourself. But I wanted why would they write this story taking him to that was the way I viewed it, with that. And then the one that I think is also is probably the more likely one that will, if we ever get one, is the idea that Snoke is just some ancient dark side entity.
Yeah,
but we see him as this clone, and
so I think he was
Mandalorian,
just
right? Yeah,
well, Mandalorian and in at Exegol.
Yeah, I think he was just a proxy for Palpatine,
which it's so curious how that outcome for Snoke's character is so underwhelming, but Rey being a nobody feels more satisfying.
I was just thinking that, and I'm glad you said it, because I was going to say it feels right for Rey to be a nobody, but I feel like the big baddie has to be a big baddie, and that's why I liked the Plagueis idea. I think still I wish it was Plagueis, because it's the biggest villain of it all, basically, for Star Wars at that point. The guy who's pulling the strings and the guy who's pulling the strings.
Well, it gives credibility to why the First Order still exists.
That too,
yeah.
But then it makes more sense that Rey is just nobody, meaning anybody can rise up against the biggest threat in the galaxy and still come out on top and win. But Snoke being just kind of nothing does feel underwhelming. I agree.
It's like just a clone, and it's like, oh, okay. But then he also just dies.
Right.
So that's fine.
Well, and I think that's just part of the whole motif that Rian was going for, of just subverting expectations, and nothing's what you think and nothing really matters. And I think that he extended all the way to Snoke being, you don't even find out who he is, and then he's dead. And so it doesn't really matter anymore anyway. Which, come to think of it, I guess if it were Plagueis, that would be kind of an underwhelming end for the character.
What happened in The Last Jedi?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, unbelievable.
It made sense for it.
It's okay for him to, in my opinion, it's okay for him to die the way he does in The Last Jedi, because he is a nobody.
Yes, exactly. I agree. But if he were a bigger villain, that would have been so disappointing.
That's why when you're sitting there in that theater the first night, and you have a headcanon that there's only one possible explanation for who Snoke is, and that's Darth Plagueis, and then he just dies.
Right. You're like, what are we doing here? What happened?
Headcanon is dangerous.
It is very dangerous.
It is dangerous.
It very much is.
Talking about headcanon, let's talk about Luke. So we've got Luke, right? The theories as to why he was on Ahch-To with it. Do you have any remembrance? That was probably the thing that was hardest to figure out.
Well, I remembered a lot of discussion about the Barash Vow. I think is what
the
Barash Vow.
Yeah.
From the
comics and
Darth Vader comics or whatever. And I think that was kind of or at least what I remembered thinking was what was happening. As to why he left, I wasn't sure. Well, in The Force Awakens, they mention
that he was training Jedi.
That he was training Kylo, I think they mentioned.
Right.
So I think we naturally were like, well, something went wrong there. Obviously, Kylo isn't a Jedi, and Luke took the Barash Vow. And we see in the Force Backs, we see Luke at like some don't we see Luke in front of some burning ruins and like his hand on R2 or something
after
the
we see that in the Force back.
Yeah,
that's what I'm meaning.
In the Force back, we see Rey being surrounded by Knights of Ren, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes with that. And then we're being told that he had a Jedi, an apprentice that turned against him and destroyed his Jedi Academy and led some of the other students to follow to leave. And then we see the Jedi Academy burning, and that's when we see Luke's hand go on top of R2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I think I thought that he was taking the Barash Vow from that.
Yeah, I think that's what made most sense, but I didn't really think I was much a part of that I wasn't much of a part of any of the theories, and so I don't believe that. I think especially that one wasn't probably on my mind.
Sure. There was one big idea was, especially after that first teaser, it's time for the Jedi to end, which was about the Grey Jedi, and that this was an idea that's not present in canon.
Nope.
Dave Filoni has come out against it. From what I understand, he does not like the idea. He's like of Grey Jedi. He thinks that that Grey Jedi doesn't work the way that he understands the Force based on what George Lucas told him. But at the time, we didn't know any of that.
Right.
With that, and so the idea in Legends was that there was this middle path between the dark and the light, where you can you can utilize emotion, attachment, all of those things. And pull from those and not be overcome by it. And that Luke was there, and we see in some of the teasers, we see the Jedi texts, we see that we know he's on Ahch-To, which they said in The Force Awakens is the location of the first Jedi temple. So the idea was that he was there learning a new path.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that kind of feel like, to some extent, what he's doing?
It is.
Yeah.
But it wasn't also, let's just be honest, Jedi that use emotion and attachments and stuff without being overcome by it exist in canon.
Well,
but they're light side users. There's not a gray side.
Right.
Which is I think what Dave Filoni was saying about George Lucas and all that stuff, because we have Ahsoka. She's not a Jedi. She's a light side user.
Ahsoka was a poster child for what they thought the Grey Jedi would be.
Yeah, of course. And yet she's not. She's a very firm light side user. There's no real dark side within it.
Yeah, when I think of Grey Jedi in maybe the sense that makes the most sense now, I picture more Starkiller from Force Unleashed. He wasn't a good guy, but he wasn't a bad guy either, really. And he used the dark side abilities, Force lightning, Force choking, all that stuff, right? And I don't think...
Which Luke uses what we would see as a dark side ability.
At the beginning of episode 6. Yeah, he Force chokes.
He Force chokes
the
with the Marine guards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which was weird looking back on, because it was not I don't know how
he's wearing all black.
I think that was a cockiness. No, I think it was cockiness in Luke.
It's hubris of the Jedi,
right? And he's like doing flips later on and stuff. Like, he's just showing off.
Like,
he's the big Jedi, and then
we talked about that on a couple episodes ago.
Yeah. Anyway. So, but I think another fuel to the fire for the Great Jedi idea was Ezra. At this point, we were just talking about that. He had those.
He was tapping into the dark side. Yeah,
he teetered a lot between the light and the dark side, and everybody was like, "Well, if he can do it, maybe this is where Luke's going to be going with it, and he's trying to like all that stuff." But no, Ezra was just a light side user. He the
goat.
He the goat. He always will be best Jedi out there. Most powerful.
Careful, you're gonna upset someone.
I can't wait for
Twitter
now.
Prove me wrong. I'll sit here. Prove me wrong.
I mean, in Ahsoka, he was kicking butt with
just
using nothing but the Force.
And also, we don't see any other character be as frightened Palpatine as much as Ezra does. And Ezra still beat Palpatine. Palpatine gave him...
I would argue other than Yoda. Because Yoda... but like the fact that you have to reach all the way to Yoda...
2 or 3 years into him really learning the Force, is able to encounter Palpatine, giving the greatest deception that we have seen a Star Wars character endure, and still deny it and go to the light side and sacrifice himself to save the galaxy. You cannot tell me that he's not the best Jedi. You can't.
I think we're on a little bit of a tangent here.
No way.
Your point stands. Thank you.
I'll send this clip to Amon Espani and see what he has to think about that.
I think he'll probably have to agree.
What about there was a big theory that Luke was going to turn evil, and that Luke had turned evil, and that he was dark.
Now,
if people were upset about what happened,
I agree.
Now, there's a little bit of memory that I have for that time, and I remember I subscribed to that theory.
The evil,
when the 12-year-old me was like, that could be cool. Well, mainly because, I didn't really get the morality, the moral gray areas back then. I was 12 years old. And so hearing the whole, the Jedi must end, the red text, Last Jedi, all this stuff, I'm like, man, Luke might be going evil at this point.
The red text was a big conversation.
That was. I remember that.
And so walking out of the panel, I remember walking out of the Last Jedi panel, I was like,
oh, he's dark.
Ezra might be going dark side. Not Ezra. Luke might be going dark side. And a part of me was like, I wonder where they're going to go with it. I wonder how they're going to handle that. That could be cool. But now looking back on it, no, all Star Wars fandom would have imploded upon itself if that happened. It would have been...
Oh my gosh, the firestorm.
What was the vibe like after that panel?
So hyped.
Being at Celebration.
So hyped.
Everybody there.
It was so hyped. I've never experienced anything like that moment. It for me, it is light years ahead of even when Sidious returns in The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh man!
And
that was exciting.
Ian McDiarmid comes out on stage and asks to roll it again and all that kind of stuff.
That was cool.
It was awesome. It was
everybody
awesome.
Was freaking cold.
Yeah, that was a different experience.
It was a rough day.
When it comes to Kylo Ren, there was a lot of theories around it. Most of those theories have to do with either he's going to be redeemed in this one and come back, and Snoke, and that is directly tied into the fact that we believed Snoke was the ultimate bad guy,
right?
Of this trilogy, and so one of the theories was that Rey was going to redeem Kylo Ren in this movie, and they were going to go up against Snoke,
which is a cool concept.
Kind of happened. Not really, but
in a way.
But do you understand? Is this
not going to go the way you think?
Is this a Ben Kenobi or Obi-Wan Kenobi from a certain point of view? It kind of happened that way?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I can
well, yeah, I guess if you look at it from... I mean, he didn't turn good, but they did fight Snoke. So, I mean, parts of it happened, but...
Okay, stop. Pause the movie.
Where?
At the Snoke throne room when they finish beating the Praetorian guards.
Okay. Snoke is dead.
If you were subscribing to the theory...
Oh, I'm on board.
That Kylo was going to be redeemed.
Mm-hmm. You're on board of that.
You're there.
You're like, happening. Oh, yeah, it's happening. Man,
and then
I had subscribed to that theory.
And then...
Here's the theory I had subscribed to, and it's tied into the Reylo. I don't know if you guys remember, but I didn't know anything about the Reylo stuff when that movie came out. Remember, I mean, the Reylo thing I found out about, like, after we were podcasting regularly, and so that was after the Last Jedi. But I did know that there were people that kind of saw this connection between with Rey and Kylo and all of that. I was convinced that Kylo and Rey were going to flip sides.
Oh my.
Oh yeah, I remember that theory.
And so Kylo was going to come back to the light side,
and Rey was
Rey was going to fall to the dark side.
That would have been cool.
And so when I'm sitting there in the theater and they just killed Snoke, took on the Praetorian Guard, she'd left Luke, and all of this stuff, I'm sitting there thinking, did this just happen? Is this really going to happen? That,
especially since don't they change lightsabers at one point?
Yes, they switch. She's holding the red lightsaber, which we saw in the trailer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's holding the blue saber in that moment, and I'm like, did this just happen? That was a fun theory.
Yeah.
And then you press play and
then they go the opposite direction. I remember sitting in the theater when all of this started to swing back. Because really up to that point in the movie, for me, all of the theories, the predominant theories, seem to be lining up except for the Luke one, I think.
Yeah.
With that. Like the Rey Nobody theory I had heard, and I'm like, okay, but then she's also the clone thing, and I don't know. Anyway, with that. But at this point, I'm just kind of like, it was like checking the boxes for the theories.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that moment, when they both go back to their own corners in some way, everything swung away to where I have no idea where this is going the rest of the movie. And that was where it was fun for me.
And then you were like a little...
Oh, yeah, we talked about it on the last episode.
Yeah.
Luke's death really was hard for me.
Yeah.
And it should be. If you were an original trilogy kid, it's okay to have had a hard time with Luke dying.
It's like seeing Iron Man die.
Yeah.
And getting spoiled about it before the movie.
That would have pissed me off so bad.
You and I did? Oh, okay.
Because of it was the
NFL memes.
It was NFL memes for you. It was the weird alligator horror movie for me. And I'm like, this looks stupid. So I checked the comments. First comment.
Iron Man dies in Endgame.
It was 2 hours before we saw the movie. You have no idea how livid I was.
Yeah.
I'm still to this day so glad I didn't get spoiled.
And so, okay, this is a tangent, but watching Endgame knowing Iron Man dies and then that beginning coming up, you know what I'm talking about.
You think he's going to die at the beginning?
And I was like, oh,
absolutely. He's not going to make it 10 minutes into this movie.
I thought Sam was going to walk out.
Oh, yeah.
I was convinced.
He's laying down.
He's getting sick. I mean, and RDJ's lost like 60 pounds to film this.
Yeah.
And he looks like he's going to, somebody's going to sneeze and he's going to blow away.
Yeah.
With it. And you're like, oh my God, they're going to kill him at the beginning of this movie. And Sam's going to die. Right.
I was so scared.
I was just relieved he survived that moment.
No, at that point, I was like, I don't care that he dies. I'm just happy he's alive.
Oh, God, kill him at the end. Snap. There we go. All right.
See, now looking back on it, I can't imagine what that movie experience was like for y'all. Just looking over at me, like
the most tense.
Oh, when he puts the gauntlet on, I'm like, all right, here we go.
But that's another movie of like theories and headcanon.
Oh, man.
The best part of that movie was the 5 years later.
Yeah.
Nobody
knew that was coming.
We had so many theories going into it, but they were all, of course, set like, how do they immediately
how do we take on
it?
Thanos?
And so that starts with them killing Thanos, and we're kind of like, oh, well, okay.
Now what? And then 5 years later,
and you're like, oh, all right.
I have no idea what's about to happen.
Let's go.
One thing that never really ever got resolved, but there were so many theories about, was who the Knights of Ren are.
Didn't they kind of talk about it?
You got to sit up. You got to sit up. It's terrible for the video.
I'm sorry. Well, didn't they talk about it a little bit in the comics or something?
Rise of Kylo Ren.
Explain.
So the Knights of Ren are an ancient dark side cult, pretty much, and they all follow Ren, who granted, when we watched The Acolyte, a lot of people thought
he is the original. He is the original.
He's the blueprint for the
stranger was
the stranger. Yeah.
So his mask and everything looks a lot like how the original Ren mask looked, except it's a little different in the comics. It's like I think it's like a spiral or something.
Yeah, I thought it was
really freaking cool. And Rise of Kylo Ren describes a lot of throughout the generations. There have been a small group of darkside users that have followed this other ideology,
other dark side
religion of the Wrens. So then Kylo Ren found out about that religion, that ideology, and subscribed to it, and then the other Knights of Ren were a part of that. I don't remember. I think it was confirmed that the other people from the Jedi Academy turned into the Knights of Ren.
I think so. Yeah.
So you're telling me basically he was scrolling Reddit one day and he saw like a subreddit for this cool little sub punk culture and was like, that's cool, and then he started combing his hair different.
Yeah,
basically is what happened. Okay.
But what was it like for all the Knights of Ren super fans coming out of The Force Awakens to get to The Last Jedi?
Did they didn't even show up. So when they make an appearance in Rise of Skywalker, it's kind of like, oh,
well, and then they still don't do anything except die.
No, they arrest Chewie.
They did.
You're right. They showed up for one other scene and grabbed a guy, and that's it.
And they were there when they rebuilt Kylo's mask. They were when the monkey.
You're right. They're standing in the background, looking like they're posing for an album picture.
They probably were getting ready to. Yeah, honestly.
Do you guys remember, and we'll end with this one, do you remember all of the theories about the title, The Last Jedi, and what that meant?
Geez, I remember there being a lot of concern about it because it's the most vague and ominous
and yet most obvious when you read the crawl for The Force Awakens.
Yes.
But we're literally right
Luke
there.
Skywalker, the Last Jedi.
But seeing that, and of course,
the Star Wars fans had to be like,
Jedi can be in singular and it can be plural, and so people are watching foreign language subtitles and stuff and saying, nope, it can't be. It's singular and all this other stuff. Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah, people were going to that lengths for. Oh my goodness,
my word!
Star Wars fans are something else. I'll tell you what.
All right, let's close with this. Headcanon. what's the balanced approach towards headcanon in order to avoid being this sit up.
I'm working on theorize as much as you want. Go crazy for it. But go into the movie expecting to enjoy it and expecting that none of those theories are going to be right. That is because the only movie I've really gotten into theories for was the Batman. I was really into like, what are we going to be doing in this movie? Riddler, and I was really into the Court of Owls ideology because, granted, it was lending itself very well. I
still want them to go there,
and I still want them to go there, of course. But I had so many theories going into it, and I remember showing up I think we got a Tuesday early night screening. We were there.
You were scared.
I was scared to death. But I went into the movie expecting to enjoy it, and went into it thinking, I know nothing that's going to happen in this movie, and I didn't. I would think I was pretty much wrong in all of it, and it turned out to be a fantastic movie. So that's my ideology with any movie. Even if you don't have theories, just go into the movies expecting to have fun and enjoy it, and you'll end up enjoying more movies than you expect because you're going into it wanting to enjoy it. You're spending
I literally see people on X all the time tweeting out, I'm going to go see so-and-so. I know I'm going to hate it. And I'm like,
I saw that with Disclosure Day. They were
why are you going to the movie then?
Right. Do you enjoy movies? Like, what are we doing here? Like, just
this is going to suck. I'm like, you're right.
3 hours to escape, enjoy it, have fun. You spent $13 on the ticket. You spent $20 or so on the,
or get AMC Stubs A-list and see 4 movies a week in any format.
First month is $1 right now, and you have to make a 3-month commitment. But hey, so it's worth it, trust me. But truly, just go enjoy it and expect to be wrong, and it's okay. It's not, nobody's gonna care.
What about you? What are your thoughts?
For me personally, I've noticed that if I go into a movie anymore with theories and headcanons and expectations and it doesn't meet up, I end up not liking the movie as much. So I have to be careful now going forward. I've recognized that and have to take steps to be careful with it because it happened with Mando a little bit. I've since changed and I love it. Yeah. But it happened with Mando. It happened with Disclosure Day last night. We just saw it last night before recording. I'm noticing that more often, so I have to be more cautious for myself. So I would say that Nathan's mindset is right, but I would take a look, like do some self-evaluation first. We're talking really like deep here about going to watch some movies, but do some self-evaluation.
Well, if you're entrenched in a fandom though, I think you have to have this kind of a thought process.
I think you need to take a look at yourself and be like, how am I going to react to this if it doesn't go the way I want? And then if you're going to be upset, don't engage in online discourse and theory then, and just watch the movie. It's impossible not to have some expectations. I recognize that, but really temper them and try not to be like, oh, I want to see this. I want to see this. I want this. I think this is going to happen. I hope this happens. Just dial it back a little bit. Don't just the basics. I know Mando is going to and Grogu are going to show up in Star Wars movie. Start there and just kind of end there for the large part. I think that's not going to hurt anyone. I don't think to have that mindset going into a movie.
It's one of the reasons why I love the fact that even in our very first predictions episode 3 of this podcast in December of 2017, getting ready to walk into The Last Jedi, we started with an idea of predictions sure to go wrong and being silly. Because I think that you sometimes have to get when you're reaching your highest level of hope or hype about one of these films, especially in the Star Wars world, where there's so much baggage you bring to it with these ideas for so many people. Going in with I'm going to go ahead and be a complete idiot on my predictions right here in order to basically illustrate absurdity by being absurd. Right? Like talking about Jedi porgs that are going to come in and save the day.
It could still happen.
It could still happen. That kind of stuff allows you to have fun with this stuff and realize this is a bunch of space wizards lifting rocks, which is why I love that conversation in the movie early on. It's about lifting rocks and controlling people with your controlling people's minds.
It's not just about
well, no, that's what Rey thinks it is.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then at the end, Luke is like, no, it's not about that. And at the end, what does she have to do to save the resistance? Lift rocks. And so it's kind of like, get over yourselves. Right. And I think there is an element that Rian did with this, and I think that it's important and people don't like it, but it's true, where Rian basically said, get over it a little bit.
Which, like I said, is something I've had to do and had to figure out. And it's not easy, but you gotta recognize it and take steps to fix it.